Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. Currently, Bitcoin is trading inside a weekend, and what you see on weekends usually is just some choppy sideways price action for a little bit until the market opens on Monday again. And what we can see right now in the immediate short term is actually a break of this descending level of resistance, which usually would be a bullish thing to see. However, Bitcoin is currently trading inside this level of resistance, which is sitting from 68.5K all the way up to 70,000 US dollars. So potentially the price can still just get rejected from here. And that's why I have this trend line in my chart, because in the case that you see the Bitcoin price break below this trend line, then it is quite likely that we will just fall out of this level and basically just see a rejection. So in the case that you see Bitcoin trade below that 68.5K level, it is likely that the Bitcoin price will go lower, for example, to this level right here, which is a short-term level of support sitting at 67.2K. But if you do see the Bitcoin price trade below that short-term level of support, then likely it will fall into the next level of support, which is sitting at 66, all the way down to 65,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. But that is about it for the bearish scenarios, because in the case we trade higher from here and we trade above that 70,000 US dollar level, then likely we will go higher up to this next big level of resistance, which is sitting from 71 all the way up to 73K. But there is another level of resistance that you must keep in mind here, which is this descending channel that we have been looking at over the last couple weeks on the channel here. And I clearly remember in this, and I also clearly remember here a couple. And of course, a couple of days ago, we saw this massive bump to the upside. But even when everyone was flipping bullish, and I saw every other YouTube creator flipping extremely bullish at 71K, I said, hey, we still haven't seen like a real confirmation and daily closes above this descending channel, and therefore we are still simply in a consolidation for Bitcoin, which is exactly what we are seeing still. We are just trading inside the range like we have been doing for weeks at this point. But yeah, even though we are in a consolidation, we are seeing higher lows. And so long as that continues, then eventually you will see the Bitcoin price trade outside of the range and get a breakout. But it is, of course, critical that we break this level of resistance. As of the time of recording, is sitting at 70.8K. But of course, keep in mind that this is a descending level of resistance. So the level of resistance goes lower over time. For example, if we wait until May 30th to actually break out of this range, then the level of resistance would already be sitting at 70.6K. Now, if you watch my videos regularly but want to get my real-time thoughts on the market, I recommend you join the Discord community with the link in the description down below, because first of all, I'm sharing some technical analysis in there from time to time, but at the same time, you can get access to my real-time trading signals, which you can get access to for free simply by following these steps here. So once you get inside the Discord and you verify, you simply go to this channel. It's called Trading Signals Access. Follow these steps. So you have to register for either MEXC or Blowfin using these links. And once you have done that, I will give you access to the trading signals for free. In fact, you even get a nice deposit bonus, especially if you go to Blowfin right now, because since I just officially partnered with Blowfin, they are doing a very generous deposit bonus for the Road to 1 Million community, where you can get up to $300 in futures bonuses just for depositing into your futures wallet on Blowfin. If you are interested in that, I highly recommend you go check it out inside the Discord server. All the links are in the video description of the video you're watching right now. And if you don't have Discord, you can also just find these links in the video description as well. Now taking a look at the Fibonacci levels for Bitcoin, because recently we traded below the 0.786 Fibonacci level, where we traded all the way to the 0.618 Fibonacci level, sitting at 67.2K, where we got a perfect bounce from that level of support, traded to the upside, and are now getting kind of close to that 0.786 Fibonacci level, sitting at 70.1K. And if you see that breakout above here, that would be a very good thing to see, but this is going to be a tough level of resistance for Bitcoin. So this is a critical level of resistance to actually pay attention to, because right here, for example, you saw we traded below it, had some choppy sideways price action, but then here we got rejected from the 0.786 Fibonacci level. and you saw what happened after. It was just a straight drop down. So it is actually critical to pay attention to this level. And moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, first of all, on the 3-day time frame, it is still very clear that most of the liquidity is sitting to the upside at about 70.1K all the way up to 70.5K. So this is potentially a level where the Bitcoin price could get attracted to. One thing we must keep in mind though is that there's also some liquidity to the downside right here, which you can see more visibly when you zoom in, for example, to the 24-hour time frame. Because here you can see that there's liquidity to the upside and to the downside on the 24-hour time frame. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you are trading on leverage, it is actually very important to pay attention to these liquidation heat maps, because you see the price get attracted to these levels every single day, where it just sweeps a level of liquidity and then sweeps the other side of the liquidity, right? So it is really important to pay attention to this. And even though currently there's liquidity to the upside and to the downside on the higher time frames, so like I was saying, the 3-day time frame, most of the liquidity is to the upside. So at some point, it is likely that the Bitcoin price will be trading to the upside. But one thing we cannot forget is actually the CME gap, which I am covering a little bit late in the video here, but I will talk more about it in tomorrow's video. Either way, the CME gap is sitting at 68.5K. So what you need to know about this is that typically the Bitcoin price fills the CME gap in the following week, because the CME gap is basically the market close on Friday, and usually you will see the Bitcoin price fill that CME gap. So yeah, if you see something like this where the Bitcoin price is trading here on Monday and the market opens, that wouldn't be bullish, because typically the CME gaps tend to get filled. Over 90% of them get filled. So if you see the Bitcoin price trading this high on Monday, and this is not me saying it will be trading this high, just giving an example here, but usually what you would see is something like this, where the CME gap gets close to being filled, so something like this, and then the Bitcoin price decides what it's going to do next after that. And it's of course dependent on the support and resistance levels, other indicators and stuff. I will talk about it when we get there, but all I'm saying is that if you see the Bitcoin price trade much higher than the current price, then it is really to be expected that at some point that CME gap is going to be filled. Taking a look at Ethereum on the 1-hour time frame, you can see that we are just following this ascending trend line. However, we are now running into this level of resistance, which is sitting from 3750 all the way up to 3800. So if you see a break of this trend line, then yes, likely the Ethereum price will be going lower. For example, we might get some really short-term support right here at 3700. But if we do go lower than that, then the next big level of support below that is sitting at 3650, roughly speaking. And if you see the Ethereum price trade below that level, then likely we will fall into the next level of support, which is sitting from 3530 all the way down to 3430. So it is important to pay attention to the Ethereum price action right now. But in the case that we do just trade to the upside from here and trade above that $3,800 level, then the next levels of resistance are going to be this 3850 level, and then above that, so you see the price trade above that, the next level of resistance is going to be at 3920 all the way up to 3950, roughly speaking. So these are the key levels you need to watch for Ethereum right now. And taking a look at these Fibonacci levels, of course, we have the 0.786 Fibonacci level at $4,000. And then below that, we have the 0.618 Fibonacci level sitting at about 3330. But as you can see on this RSI momentum indicator, currently there isn't really too much momentum either to the upside or to the downside. And that's why you're seeing the RSI hovering around that 50 level. Because whenever you see the RSI at 50, it means that there is no momentum to the upside and to the downside. So the price action is just neutral. But what you can see right here, exactly as I talked about in my previous videos, we were in deep overbought territory. And usually what you'll see is that there's limited room to the upside whenever the RSI is this overbought. And what you'll see is that the RSI slowly trends down over time to reset back to around that 50 level, before then making its next move either to the upside or to the downside. And the way the RSI resets is by the price just trading sideways like you are seeing right now, or even getting a little bit of bearish momentum. And in that case, you would see the RSI trade down more quickly and even go below that 50 level, because whenever the RSI is below 50, it means that there is some bearish momentum in the market. Now taking a look at Solana on the 4-hour time frame, where you can see that we recently did not clear above that 0.786 Fibonacci level, traded all the way below the 0.618 Fibonacci level at $174, and are right now, after getting a bit of a bounce, potentially heading back for more to the 0.5 Fibonacci level, sitting at $163. So let's take a look at these short-term levels of support for Solana. And what you can see right here is that exactly what I talked about in my previous videos exactly played out, where I said, pay attention to this trend line right here, because if you see a trend line break, likely we will be seeing some bearish momentum, which is exactly what we got. So we traded below it, got some bearish momentum, then got rejected from that trend line once again, and are now seeing more bearish momentum. So let's take a look at these resistance levels first. Right now, Solana is sitting in a level of resistance, which is sitting from $167 all the way up to $171. And then above that, the next level of resistance is sitting from $176 all the way up to $181 for the price of Solana. Either way, if we do just get a rejection and a further pullback from here, we might get some short-term support at $164. And then if we trade below that, more support sitting at $160. But if we really get a big crash down here and we just keep getting more and more bearish momentum, in that case, the next big level of support is sitting from $150 all the way down to $140 for the price of Solana. But for now, it's a little bit early to start talking about that level of support, because what we are also seeing on the RSI momentum indicator is that recently on this bump to the upside, we saw deep overbought territory being reached on the RSI. And therefore, as I was explaining earlier in the video, you would need to see the RSI reset back to around that 50 level before making its next move to either trade further to the downside or back to the upside. And right now you're just seeing the RSI trade a little bit lower, but the RSI is already sitting at 40. So at some point, especially if we get some more bearish momentum in the short term here, it is very likely that the RSI will reach oversold territory in that case. And usually, like I said, when you get oversold territory, there is limited room to the downside, and usually you would need to see the RSI reset a little bit back to around that 50 level. This has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.